Listen closely, because this might just shift the way you see everything. You've been handling toxic people all wrong. You think the solution is to put up walls, cut them off, or avoid them altogether. But that's not power, that's survival. That's playing defense. Here's the truth, toxic people aren't going away. You can block one, and another shows up. You avoid them at work, but they're waiting at family gatherings. Move to a new city, they're there too. Toxic people are everywhere. So the key isn't in changing them, it's in changing you. They're like a virus, but a virus can only thrive in a weak immune system. You stop being affected by them when you stop being available for their poison. When you become so grounded, so solid in who you are, their games, their drama, their manipulation can't touch you. Understand this, toxic people have one weapon, your reaction. They don't actually have power over your life unless you hand it to them. They live for your emotional outbursts, for the moment you crack, cry, or doubt yourself. That's their fuel. The second you react, they win. And they know it. That's why they poke, provoke, guilt-trip, and twist reality. They want you caught up in their chaos, so confused you forget your own truth. But here's the secret, the moment you stop reacting, you become unshakable. The moment you refuse to play their game, they lose all control. Watch what happens when you stay calm, they panic. They escalate. They insult harder. They dig deeper. That's how you know you're winning. Because without your reaction, they're left alone with the one thing they can't handle, their own emptiness. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't need to prove anything. The second you stop giving them space in your mind, you win. Your peace becomes your power. Your calm becomes your weapon. The strongest person in the room isn't the loudest, it's the one who stays centered while everyone else spirals. Every time you react, you train them to keep going. But when you give them nothing, the fire burns out. No response, no fuel, no control. They will try every tactic, guilt, anger, flattery, provocation. But once you realize their words are just noise, you stop being vulnerable to them. This isn't about ignoring, it's about mastering yourself. Their approval doesn't matter. Their insults irrelevant. Their opinion meaningless. The only thing that counts is what you believe. Your emotions are your responsibility. They can't make you feel anything unless you let them. And the moment you reclaim that power, you become unstoppable. Most people live like puppets, letting toxic people pull their strings. One rude comment ruins their day. One conflict throws off their week. That's not strength, that's bondage. That's letting someone else own your mind. But that's not you. You are here to take full command of your inner world. Imagine being completely unfazed, no matter what they say or do. Imagine their poison bouncing off you like it never touched your skin. That's true power. That's how you break free, not by cutting them off, but by rising above them so high they can't reach you. They'll try to shake you, break you, make you doubt yourself. But they only succeed if you let them. Decide today that their words have no weight, their opinions no value. That's when you become dangerous, the kind of person no one can control. The secret is simple, never react. Never let their energy in. Never hand over your peace. Because the moment you do, they win. But when you don't, you win, forever. They don't deserve your energy. They don't deserve your explanations. Every second you spend trying to make them see your side is a second wasted. And the brutal truth, they already understand. They just don't care. So stop giving them what they crave. Starve their chaos. Choose calm. Choose mastery. Choose freedom. Let's get something straight. Toxic people know exactly what they're doing, they just don't care. And you keep thinking that if you just explain things better, love them harder, or tolerate them a little longer, they'll finally change. But they won't. They never intended to. Because toxic people don't want healing, or peace, or mutual respect, they crave control. They feed off your confusion, your exhaustion, and your constant self-doubt. The hardest truth you'll ever face is this: some people are committed to misunderstanding you. No matter how many times you explain, how much proof you show, or how kind you try to be, they will twist your words, play the victim, and paint you as the villain. You could show them cold, undeniable truth, and they'd still spin it to suit their narrative. Why? Because they're not after the truth, they're after your submission. Once you see this clearly, you stop pouring your energy into trying to fix, change, or reach them. You stop hoping they'll wake up one day and realize how wrong they were. That day is never coming. They are exactly who they choose to be, and they have no plans to change. That's why your power lies not in blocking them, not in one final confrontation, but in cutting off your emotional investment. Even if you've gone no contact, if they still live in your thoughts, if you're still replaying arguments or wondering if you were to blame, they're still in control. That's the game. They don't need to be near you to manipulate you. If they haunt your mind, they're still winning. And the only way to win is to make them completely, utterly irrelevant. You don't do that by hoping for closure or waiting for an apology, because even if one came, it would be hollow, strategic, another move in their manipulation playbook. Toxic people don't apologize out of remorse, they apologize to reel you back into the chaos. So stop explaining, stop defending, stop giving them one more chance. You owe them nothing, but you owe yourself peace. You owe yourself a life where your energy isn't constantly drained by someone else's dysfunction. The moment you stop giving them access to your attention, they begin to lose power. They'll try to escalate, lash out, guilt trip, or beg, but if you stand firm and don't take the bait, they eventually move on to find a new host. Because here's the brutal truth, they chose you. Not randomly, intentionally. They target people who are empathetic, forgiving, compassionate, people who try to see the good in others, even when it hurts. And that's why it's so hard to walk away. They've conditioned you to feel guilty for protecting your peace. But listen carefully, you are allowed to choose yourself. You don't owe anyone your time, your forgiveness, or a place in your life just because of shared history, family ties, or social pressure. And once you fully let go, the truth hits you like a wave, you never needed them. It was always them who needed you. They survive by making you feel like you're nothing without their presence. But when you finally break free, you realize you weren't losing anything. You were escaping the drama, the gaslighting, the emotional torment, and that's not a loss. That's liberation. You don't need their permission to move on. You don't need to justify your healing. All you need is the decision that they no longer have a seat at your table. When you stop feeding the fire, it burns out. When you stop investing in their chaos, they shrink back into the shadows. That's when your healing truly begins, when you reclaim every inch of your mind and spirit that they once occupied. And here's the twist they never saw coming, all that pain they put you through. It didn't break you. It built you. Every insult, every betrayal, every manipulation became fuel. They thought they were weakening you, but they were actually sharpening you into a version of yourself they can't even recognize. And now, you're rising. Thriving. Powerful. Their presence doesn't hurt you anymore, it barely registers. That's what scares them the most, that the person they tried to break is becoming untouchable. Toxic people don't target the weak, they come after the strong, the kind, the ambitious. You reminded them of everything they're not, and they tried to dim your light. But they failed. And now, you've become the thing they feared, someone who can't be manipulated, can't be controlled, and can't be broken. You've outgrown them. They are no longer the villain in your story, they're just a forgettable footnote in the beginning of your triumph. The best revenge isn't silence, and it isn't spite. It's success. It's joy. It's building a life so full and free that their memory fades into dust. They thought they were destroying you, but all they did was show you who you never want to be, and light the fire that's now making you unstoppable. Every single attempt they made to break you, every insult, every manipulation, every cruel game, has become the very reason you're now unshakable. Let them talk. Let them watch in silence as you rise higher than they ever imagined, growing beyond every limitation they tried to place on you. Let them sit in the same spot, stuck in their bitterness, while your name travels to rooms they'll never be invited into. Let them taste the bitterness of their own hate as you soar far out of reach, not to prove anything to them, but to remind yourself of who you've become. They wanted you emotionally wrecked, constantly doubting yourself, chained to the past, but instead, you've taken the very fire they sparked and used it to forge something powerful. You turned your pain into purpose. Your setbacks into stepping stones. And now, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Not because they let go of you, but because you let go of them. They'll never say it out loud, but your success is their worst fear. Your happiness without them, your peace, your glow up, it's everything they secretly hoped you'd never find. They wanted to be the scar you never healed from, the voice in your head that kept you small. But now, they're nothing. Every time you choose growth over bitterness, peace over chaos, self-respect over their approval, you erase their presence from your story. They counted on your weakness. They bet on you staying stuck. They assumed you'd never find your strength, but they were wrong. And now, you're someone they'll never get access to again. Someone who doesn't need revenge, because your evolution is revenge enough. They no longer get to live rent-free in your head. They don't get to slow you down or shake your confidence. Every second spent thinking about them is time stolen from the life you're meant to be living, and they're simply not worth it. The greatest thing you'll ever do isn't to block them, or curse them, or prove them wrong. It's to outgrow them so completely that they become nothing more than a faded memory. Because the truth is, they were never your competition. They were just noise. The only real competition was always the old you, the one who tolerated their abuse, who questioned your worth, who stayed in places you had outgrown. And every single time you choose yourself, every time you evolve, every time you rise above the version of you they tried to break, you win. They wanted you shattered. They wanted you insecure. They wanted you stuck. But now, all they can do is watch, from a distance, as you become everything they said you'd never be. And that's a kind of revenge they'll never recover from.